What is up, my guardian angels? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the second episode of the Stage Presence Hive. I am so glad to have you here. Thank you for the amount of positive engagement on the first episode. You guys were amazing. I saw someone actually tweet about this, about how they loved my comment section, which is just insane. The way you guys have worked really hard to make this a safe haven for everyone to have their own opinions and be as respectful as possible. I genuinely appreciate that. I know it's technically the bare minimum, but this is K-pop, okay? This is K-pop, a place where we are grateful for the bare minimum because K-pop fans cannot do that. I also wanted to say thank you so much for 38,000 subscribers. Why are you people subscribing to this channel? Honestly, I feel truly humbled and I cannot believe that we're so close to doubling the number of subscribers I ended last year with. It is insane. I am truly grateful and you guys continue to humble me. Honestly, thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. In today's video, we are going to be focusing on idols that I consider the standard when it comes to stage presence. A few things to note before we get into it. Number one, this is only part one of this episode because I know people are going to be like, well, why is this idol and why are they not here? Even if I will clearly state it in the title that this is only part one. So just try to remember that I can't fit every single idol I consider the standard. In this video, we would be sitting for a very long time and I don't think I can do that. I have other important things to do, like, nothing. So I really think it's better if I just do it in 2 or 3 sittings. That would be, I think, perfect enough. Secondly, this one is mainly for the second gen stans because you guys know that most idols who are considered the standard are second generation idols. But a lot of your faves are on hibernation vacation at the moment. And I'm not talking about like squirrels in the winter. I'm talking about like dormant volcano type shit. And I really just want to focus on idols who are more active. So any second generation idols who we talked about are those who are currently active. So those of you whose faves have been away for like 6 military eras, I apologize, but they will not be included in these videos. I do think that it is awesome to have a conversation about them in the comment section. And if you guys want a separate video on that, maybe I can do that. But at the moment, just please don't crucify me for not having them in the video. And then finally, the usual, stage presence is subjective. This is about personally for me and what I consider the standard. It may not be the same for you. You're more than welcome to criticize me or criticize my train of thought. I do not have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is people being bitchy in the comment section and then try to manipulate me by saying, I thought you said that this was a space where everyone can be honest with their opinions. It is. It's not a space for you to be a jerk though, and you're gonna get blocked for that. Thank you. So let's talk about the standard. What is the definition of a standard? And I'm starting with definitions because A, it is a tradition on this channel, and B, that's mainly because K-pop fans like to throw around words that they don't know what they mean. So what do we define by saying standard? When something is a standard, it is established by authority, custom, or general consent as a model or an example. In this case, I am the authority because this is my channel, but basically it's something that you see as the best. It is the measuring stick for whatever area in life you are talking about. So idols that I'm going to be talking about today are idols that I think are the best of the best in the industry. With that being said, what does an idol have to do to go on my top list and for me to consider them the standard for stage presence? Number one is obviously facial expressions, but I wanted to explain something about facial expressions. I talk about this all the time, but I feel like I need to reiterate it over and over again. When I say facial expressions, I don't mean how expressive an idol is. I mean, it matters, yes, but I'm more interested in how appropriate their facial expressions are. Are their facial expressions really suitable for the particular concept that they're doing? Are they able to adjust their facial expressions to meet the mood of the song, the concept, etc.? So facial expressions being appropriate is way more important to me than them just being expressive, because some of these idols be looking animated in girl crush concepts and it is not cute. So I'm just saying that for me, in terms of facial expressions, I'm more interested in how appropriate facial expressions are than I am in someone just having like facial expressions that are all over the place. The second thing, and probably one of the most important things for me in stage presence, is versatility. Especially if the group does more than one particular concept, can this idol fit these concepts? It's super important to me because I don't know, like if an idol is really good at one concept and exceptional at it, that's great. And I honestly don't mind that. And I think they deserve all the praise. But when an idol is versatile and they're able to fit the mood of just about any concept, or at least the more concepts an idol can fit, the better of a performer they are to me. And I think that it's part of their job, or at least the job of the people who train them, to teach them on how to suit the concepts that they are portraying on stage. I wanted to clear something on uniqueness, and there are idols who do have unique elements in in their stage presence. And while I appreciate that, it's not really a big criteria on this channel. I don't really care for it. I mean, uniqueness is great and I talk about it all the time, but just because an idol is unique in terms of stage presence doesn't mean that they're great. A good example I can give is Yeri of Red Velvet. She has a sensual side, a dominant side, and a charismatic side. Actually, only her and Taeyu Bing have those sides, but I wouldn't really say I consider them the best performers in the industry. So uniqueness isn't that much of a big deal to me, but if it is to you, of course, please talk about it in the comment section. I want to read it. I want to see your train of thought. So with that being said, let's get into these idols. We are kicking off this video by talking about our birthday girl. Happy birthday, An Yoonjin. I hope you had a great one and you continue to have more great birthdays in the future. Yoonjin's stage presence has always been captivating to me when she started performing in IVE1. It's one of the reasons why she became my bias wrecker in that group, but I don't think I ever considered her the standard up until she started performing in IVE, and especially during Love Dive era. Her secret weapon is always in her eyes, and she seems to understand that because she knows how to manipulate her eyes to create that magnetic aura that draws people in when she's performing. In IVE1, the elegant concept came with a little bit of a charismatic twist to it, which means charismatic performers had a huge advantage. This was a disadvantage for her because she's mainly a sensual performer, but her eyes are on the bigger side and she was able to use that and her smile, and she smiled a lot during her time in IVE1, and she knew that it made her look good because it strengthened her charisma, which she has little to know of when in terms of archetype and aura, of course, not in terms of just like charisma, like performance charisma in general. And I think that when she moved to IVE, she understood that the smaller her eyes look, the better, because having bigger eyes makes you look animated, and an animated look is honestly not great when you're performing an elegant concept that requires sensuality out of you. The reason why I think she understands that is that 95% of the time, ever since she started performing in IVE, she's hardly ever opened her eyes all the way. And I think she knows that to create that aura that draws people in, your eyes have to appear smaller, at least for her. Of course, her mannerisms and her gestures, especially with her arms, definitely aid to this, but her eyes are definitely the secret weapon for that. She only ever opens her eyes all the way under 3 circumstances. A, she's doing side glances. B, she's tilting her head down, or C, she intends on closing them in the next few seconds. And I think she understands that doing that really helps attract people, especially when she's performing for IVE's concept. And whoever decided IVE's concept, they knew what they were doing, because there isn't a single charismatic performer in that group. Because if there was a charismatic performer, they would be at a huge disadvantage. She also knows when to smile, because just smiling throughout an elegant concept like this that does not have some sort of charismatic twist is not a good idea. So she doesn't smile as often, but when she does, it's when the music is usually like super intense. She really knows what she's doing when she performs. To me, she reminds me of a siren because she knows how to truly attract the audience in an ethereal way that kind of dazes them a little bit. And I think that's what makes her the standard, because a lot of sensual performers, a lot of them don't really seem to know what they're doing when they're performing, because once again, most K-pop concepts or most K-pop songs are catered to charismatic or dominant performers, especially for girl groups. So when a sensual performer really knows how to play with their eyes and their mannerisms in order to attract the audience, to me, they are considered the standard, and I think she's doing an amazing job at that. I do think that she's going to continue to improve and continue to be better, and I cannot wait to see how she performs in the future. Speaking of sensual performers who know what they're doing, let's get into Sangyan of CLC. Sangyan of CLC is a sensual performer just like Yoojin, but she does the opposite of what Yoojin usually does. Yoojin lowers her eyelids to be able to create that magnetic aura. What Sangyan does is to intensify her eye contact and use her body instead to do the magnetic pulling, which doesn't surprise me considering that she is a dancer. And I think what really puts her on top is the sheer confidence that she has when she's performing. Insecure insecurity is something that a lot of people can see and they can sense. Humans are intuitive beings, and when you perform like you don't know what you're doing, or you're constantly worried about what people will think about you, people can sense it and they can see it, and your insecurity is exuded in the way that you perform. I will talk about this. I might make a video on idols who look or who perform like they're insecure. Sangyeon is very far from that. She seems to have a lot of confidence in her abilities, not just as a dancer and a singer, but as a performer in general. She has this intensity. Just the way she looks at the camera alone tells you that she knows what she's doing, and she knows she has the power to attract whoever is watching her. Confidence goes a long way when it comes to performance. It's not a tangible thing, and it's just something that you have to feel from the inside out, and it's hard to fake, in my personal opinion. So her confidence gives her so much power as a performer and puts her above a lot of people. And I think also the great thing about her sensuality is that she's able to fit it in the girl crush concepts that are performed by CLC. CLC has this chic, like, girl crush concept, and her sensuality fits in perfectly into it. And when and if she's doing like sexier dance moves, my god, this girl really knows how to amp it up to attract people. Whenever she has the ability to touch her neck or just like her body when she is dancing, she knows that this amplifies her stage presence and makes her look attractive as a performer. And it is a massive advantage, and I love the way she does that. She's definitely one of the best third generation performers and one of the best performers in K-pop overall, argue with the wall. Now, I have been harassed several times to talk about this next idol and his stage presence. People are like, I cannot believe you talk about stage presence without talking about this guy. And it's not because I don't think his stage presence is great. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in this video. But it's because a lot of people don't know him or his group, which means whenever I try to explain that I consider him the standard, people be like, bitch, who are you talking about? So I thought it would be best for me to introduce him in a video like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of the best, if not the best, fourth generation male idol performer. Wonwoong of ONEUS is one of the best performers I have ever seen in my life. The amount of confidence this kid has when he performs is insane, and it's something that I'm not used to seeing when it comes to performance. Now, remember when I said that I hated when people stick their tongues out? Now, Wonwoong is an exception, and the reason being the fact that A, he doesn't do it too much, and B, he knows when to do it. Cough, cough, Jake, I'm talking to you. You can learn a few things from this guy. Wonwoong is probably one of my favorite performers in all of K-pop, and I think the reason is the fact that he has some of the most appropriate facial expressions ever. He doesn't feel the need to do too much every time to prove that he's a great performer. When and if the music is intense, he knows how to intensify his facial expressions, and his body language, insane. Yes, of course he's a dancer, but my god, his body language is ridiculously good. ONEUS has some of the best music in the industry. If we forget their recent comeback, or was it the comeback before that, if we just pretend it doesn't exist, their songs require a unique type of aura when it comes to performing, and he is able to really exude that when he performs on stage. And one thing I love about him also is his sheer confidence, like Sangyeon. It really helps him top most of the male idols when it comes to performing. He is precise. He's so neat and tidy in his stage presence. When and if you know when to do something and you do not overdo it, it's a huge advantage because he doesn't get redundant, he doesn't get boring, it doesn't make me uncomfortable, and at the same time, I'm constantly looking forward to watching his face cams. I wish a lot of people paid attention to his stage presence because my god, you guys would truly enjoy it. I see a lot of people saying that a lot of idols have terrible stage presence. I think most of them who have good stage presence happen to be from groups that are not extremely popular, which makes it difficult for people to even know about them in the first place. From body language to facial expressions, his charisma is just ridiculous on stage, and honestly, I don't know who taught this kid to perform, but my god, they did a good job. They did a great job. I think I can go as far as to say he's the best fourth generation performer. Argue with the wall. you know there's no way this video is gonna happen without him here, right? You know there was just like no way. So Taemin is a dominant and sensual performer, but he is also a feminine performer despite being a male idol. And having these combinations should make it difficult for him, yet it doesn't. For some reason, he is just perfect. I don't think there's any idol, second, third, or fourth generation that comes nearly as close to his preciseness when it comes to performing. He knows how to build himself, mold himself into whatever concept that he is portraying. Everything from his mannerisms to his facial expressions. And I think the most beautiful thing about him is that his facial expressions aren't excessive, so his superpower is in his mannerisms and his body language. Even though he's a strong and intense dancer, I think one thing about him is that toning it down is not difficult for him. My sister describes Taemin, and I've said this before, as a man who gets possessed by the music, and then the music uses his body as a vessel to express what it is trying to say to the audience. And I think that's what makes him so top tier, because he truly knows how to use the music and the vibe of the music to his advantage to make you feel what he is performing. Taemin is so great at that. There's no idol that comes to his level, not even a little bit. Name any idol you think is better than Taemin at stage presence and I'll show you a liar, because this man is so good at what he does, it is ridiculous. I love the fact that he can show his dominant side and his sensual side, and I love that he's not afraid to fully embrace his sensual side when he is performing. It makes him one heck of an interesting performer. I also love his strong body language. My God, it captures my attention a lot. This could be because of my celebrity crush on him, I don't know. But the point is, he is so great at what he does. And to me, he is the greatest standard of all time when it comes to stage presence. To be fair, Michael Jackson is kind of like his idol, so I'm not truly surprised when it comes to how good he is. Years of training and his years in the industry have truly prepared him for the idol that he is. You know, there's people who say that there are people who are particularly born to be on stage. Taemin is one of them. He was born a performer because his natural talent is insane. I do think that he's hardworking, of course. I'm not trying to demean any of that, but my goodness, I definitely think that he has the natural talent of a performer. He's so good at what he does. Definitely the best performer in K-pop, hands down. Speaking of people who deserve to be called kings and queens of stage presence, let's get into Jihyo, the queen of stage presence herself. So glad that she's recovered and she is back on stage. I was dying for her to come back so I could see her perform their recent comeback. It's safe to say that I was not disappointed. Jihyo has got something that I call an opposites attract kind of stage presence. She's a charismatic performer and a sensual performer. Now, charismatic performers have strong facial expressions and strong body language. Sensual performers have subtle facial expressions and subtle body language. So they are the opposites of each other. Whenever an idol possesses both of these, they are usually at a disadvantage because I think sometimes they don't know which persona to lean into when they are performing. But with Jihyo, it's never truly been a problem for her. Even with Yoona, who I consider Jihyo's baby when it comes to stage presence, she has this thing where she's able to be so intense when it's necessary, but when the music requires for a little bit of sensuality, she's able to exude that. I think she is the perfect performer for Twice's music because Twice's music has elements of sensuality, although it is mainly catered for charismatic performers. The thing about Jihyo is she knows how to play with her eyes. Like I've talked about in my second episode of stage presence ranking and also with Eugene, is that when and if sensuality is required of her, she truly knows how to play with her eyes. The side glances. Have you watched this woman perform alcohol free? My God, she is so good at what she does. I also love the fact that she has a lot of energy, but she's never excessive with it. I think one of the reasons why people feel so comfortable with even comparing her to idols such as Momo, who are exceptional dancers, is because her body language is insane and it is so attractive to watch. And I think the fact that she can switch from her charismatic to her sensual performing elements whenever she feels like it really puts her on the pedestal as one of the best performers. And the fact that her facial expressions are just always on point. Idols whose facial expressions never mess up are definitely idols that I think should be considered the standard, because most of the time people will either overperform or especially underperform, considering that this is K-pop. Jihyo just knows how to do everything just right. She gives you enough of everything, of course leaving you wanting a little bit more, because every time you finish watching a stage presence, you're like, it feels like there's an element of satisfaction because she always does the right thing every single time. And the best thing about Jihyo is that her stage presence seems to get better with every era. She seems like she is always trying to learn to do something new with her eyes or her bodily mannerisms to be able to attract the audience. Jihyo is definitely one of the best performers in K-pop, and she is by far the standard, especially for charismatic and sensual performers as a whole. Let's talk about another second generation idol who is good at what she does, Hyuna. Hyuna is one of my favorite performers in K-pop. She is the queen of charisma. My god, I do not know if it's because she got into the industry so young, so therefore like she's had a lot of training. Even looking at her older content in the early times in the industry, she's just always been this good. I think one thing about her is that she is so good at being playful. A lot of her music has always kind of sounded bubblegummy like, and it has a sexy twist to it. And Hyuna has always been the perfect person for that. I do not like Q, but my god, they knew the good music. They knew how to give her the music that suited her aura and her element. So of course, I'm gonna answer the obvious question. She is a feminine, overt, dominant, charismatic performer. Her dominant side is something that has always been obvious because a lot of her concepts require some level of sexiness to it, and she's always been able to deliver that. She's kind of like what I would call Jennie's mother when it comes to stage presence. If Jennie's body language was consistent, she would be a performer like Hyuna. I do understand that both of them actually have a problem with, I believe, stamina, and they get weak pretty easily, which I do not blame them for. You know, it is a medical condition. But the fact that Hyuna is able to pull through with so much energy and consistency when she's performing every single time is insane. When she performs, she always gives 100. And I think that she's not truly afraid of the way she looks when she performs. She's simply focusing on enjoying the song, which is something that I've never truly talked about on this channel. But there's nothing more like watching an idol who seems to enjoy what they're doing. When and if you are on stage and you look like you don't enjoy what you're performing, no one is going to like watching you. I believe Mira mentioned this about NMIXX, saying that a lot of people are saying that NMIXX must be embarrassed to perform a song like that. But when you look at the way they perform it, they do not seem embarrassed. They seem to genuinely enjoy their music. And when an idol looks like they enjoy being on stage, or being on stage is something that they want, not that, you know, they were forced into it, it really gives a different kind of aura, and it makes their stage presence enjoyable. And I think that is Hyuna's secret weapon. Her facial expressions just exude the I like being here, I want to be here, I want to be a performer. It is a massive advantage on her part, and definitely makes her the standard when it comes to stage presence, especially for dominant performers. You know, we were not going to end this video without talking about Choi Sun. I've talked about Sun so many times, not almost, in every single stage presence video that I've talked about, I've mentioned him as an example. There's a reason for it. Look at him. Seriously, I mean, just look at him. Oh my god. One thing I can say about Sun is he has a masculine and feminine aura, which makes him a rare type when it comes to performing. But I think what gives him a massive advantage is the fact that he's not afraid to express himself. So I have talked about how I think that Sun overperforms sometimes, and Sun actually likes it that way. He said that there are times when he did tone it down and he didn't like the way that he looked, so overperforming is just, he's okay with it and he likes it that way, and that's his prerogative. But one thing I will say that is when he's not overperforming, oh my god, this man looks so good. I can't even begin to explain to you how amazing of a performer he is. Sun has a masculine and feminine aura, which means he can suit any concept ATEEZ does. What's interesting to me is even if he is performing kind of like lighthearted songs like Eternal Sunshine, he still looks so good when he's performing. Like, I thought I knew how much of a good performer he was, but it wasn't until Deja Vu that my eyes truly opened at how great he is, especially at songs that require some level level of sensuality to it. And Sun is just so good at what my God, he is so attractive as a performer. He's enjoyable to watch. You're never bored. And the one thing about him is that his stage presence is so natural. He hardly ever like repeats facial expressions. It does not look rehearsed. It feels like this is just him being on stage as a regular like performer. And Sun is also one of those people that I think were born to be on stage. Considering the fact that a lot of K-pop stans perform like someone is holding a gun to their head, it's difficult to get used to an idol who truly loves performing on stage and enjoys what they're doing. So I think it's safe to say that it's understandable why Sun is considered the standard, at least to me. And whether you believe the way that I do that he sometimes overperforms or not, you cannot deny the power and the magnetism that he has, especially in his body language when he's performing. And these are all the idols I have for you today. Oh my God, I've been talking for a really long time. I am so sorry, but I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you look out for part 2, and I cannot wait to do that part 2 because there's a few idols that we're going to talk about, but I don't think that will be the next episode. I think the next episode I'm going to be talking about idols whose stage presence improves significantly. Please look forward to that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.